Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. It is the Sunday Mindset Session. I am Luke Moroney, and I've got the lovely man, Tony Meredith, on here today to talk a little bit of mindset on this Sunday morning. You might be just popping out of bed, or you might be still under the covers and making things happen for yourself, but actually get your mindset working on this bright and early Sunday morning. I've done my 7K run. Kat's come on to join us in this early start to the morning on the Sunday Mindset Session. And Tony Meredith is here bright and early as he is every Sunday morning. Tony, good morning to you. And Tony Gallagher, good morning to you too.
Good morning, Luke. Here we go again. What number is this, by the way?
Number 51. We're almost hit the year mark. So
we have to have a birthday celebration next week.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I don't know how we're going to celebrate. Maybe it should be ice cream time. Ice cream's at 8 a.m.
Yeah, but that's any day that ends in Y, Luke. So why is that? I'm wanting to do something extra special.
Well, it's special for me. I guess it's not so much special for you.
Well, I tell you what, then you do the ice creams, and I'll do the 7Ks. How's that sound?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I like that. I like that. Really interesting during the week and over the last week as well. Julian, Christine, Hayden has also come on. Christine says, good morning, gentlemen. And Kat also says, good morning. Good to see the lovely ladies wishing us a good morning, but the gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Too much there. Tony goes, ice cream cake. So maybe Tony Gallagher, it's a bit of a Tony thing, maybe, the whole ice cream situation. Greg's come on as well. And Greg sent some nice comments this morning about last week's session. So, Greg, thank you so much for those kind words. He actually did the replay of last week's session in preparation for today's session. So, get the mindset working before the mindset session. So, it's like a double
you can never have enough focus on the mindset. That's the first thing I say. The second thing I'll say is Tony Gallagher. That's taken my mind back to the old Macca's ice cream cakes, the birthday cakes. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
the
old Macca's parties. Fantastic.
You had a few of those, did you, Tony?
No, we didn't. I grew up in a town where there wasn't a McDonald's, but I used to work in McDonald's, mate. So I used to oversee the parties. So, absolutely. I used to get
any way to
get in the Ronald suit.
Any way to focus on the ice cream, isn't it?
Oh, always zeroing in on the ice cream.
Daniel Northfield's come on as well. Good to see you on, Daniel. And Drew and Alan and Greg says, morning, guys. And Hayden's still waiting for his coffee catch up as well. Hayden, why don't you just make an effort and go and see Tony down at, where do you live these days?
Me, Morningside.
Morningside?
So I'm Morningside now. So I'm just in a park at Morningside. So this is where I am at the moment.
Okay, well, Hayden, go down and see Tony.
Come down and see me.
If you want to make it happen, I guess this is the whole thing. Make it happen, persistence, get out there, tell him you're going to come during these times and make it happen. I would say, I think it's a great thing.
We can do a Zoom catch up if you want, Hayden. So let's make that happen.
Yeah. And okay. Hayden's he's good on the mindset as well. And I think it's, just those little tweaks that we all need, Tony.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what it's all about.
Well, it's a lifelong commitment. Right. So it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are. It's always about building on your personal development. It's a lifelong commitment. It's not do this once and I'm cured. It's constantly build on it. So, and which is why, we've come back 51 days or 51 Sundays in succession.
We are very happy about that. And an interesting, I was just mentioning earlier about something that's happened over the past week or so, just working on people's mindset and so forth. I don't know where he's up to as of yesterday, but I set a challenge for Kamal Butross, who is a conveyancer, and he is doing some great work looking towards the whole thing about health. And obviously on the back of me discussing about my 7Ks a day and so forth. Look, his fitness is probably in the range of not being so good. And he has then made a commitment. I don't know how he was yesterday because he didn't post on social media. So it'll be interesting if we can get an update through today. But he's committed to walking 30 minutes every day for the next 60 days.
Good on him.
We've got a little side bet, couple $100 side bet on this.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, and it's good. And it's about taking those challenges, Tony, isn't it? That's what it's all about, and being open to the challenges. Now, I didn't go to him. He's quite a large guy. I didn't say to him, go and run 7Ks a day, because that'd be, silly to get to the, that point. And,
Absolutely.
that I don't know. I'm no doctor. I'm no fitness guru or anything like that. But you start out with something really small and really simple, and then you sort of work yourself up.
Oh, we talk about it every week here, right? So it's about starting small. It's about just putting the left foot in front of the right. I mean, even doing 30 minutes a day for 60 days is a huge commitment. So if you're someone who's sitting there going, oh my gosh, that feels huge, well, you don't have to do 30 minutes a day for 60 days. Maybe you do 15 minutes a day for 30 days, and it's all about just taking the start, because a lot of us, me included, over this last couple of months, we've been quarantined, easier access to the food, not being as active, all those types of things. We've put on a couple of kilos, I certainly have. But if you're in that position, then you don't have to go and set a massive goal to get out of it. Just start with something small and then build momentum into it. But good on Kamal. I mean, I think it's terrific. And I see Kamal's posts. Again, I didn't see yesterday, but I see his posts on what he's trying to achieve. And I think it's wonderful that people are not only committing to doing something for 60 days, but then telling the whole world about it. That just adds an additional layer of accountability. Plus, I didn't realize that you blokes have got a side bet. So he's got accountability coming at him from every direction. So good luck to you, Kamal.
Whoever loses has got to donate $200 to charity. So, that's a great thing that we've put together.
What are you doing? What's your end of the bargain?
No, just the bet. So just putting up the money.
Oh, okay. So you just put the money up. So you right. Okay. Gotcha.
That's it. I think I'm doing enough, Tony. Mum's come on. So ask her, actually. Kelly, Mick, Alan, good to see you on. Christine says, just starting is the greatest step. Absolutely, Christine. And Mick says, maybe just use the word start without the word small. Just start.
Just start.
Yes and no. I guess it's a little bit, you can, define those words a little bit there, Tony, but I think people need to have that thing of, okay, it's a challenge, but if they think it's actually small and insignificant, maybe they'll actually make that move towards it. I feel, and it goes up to those little, to the thoughts of that person. Maybe saying it's a start. Yes, it's a good, but knowing that it's small and not massive action that you're taking, but something small, then actually might be more convincing for you to actually do it. I don't know. What's your thoughts around
that? I think whatever works. Look, but ultimately, whether it be start small, start medium, it doesn't matter. It's about starting. It's just about putting the left foot in front of the right, regardless of what you're trying to do.
Further from that, Mick actually says small can be deemed as patronizing. Interesting. Arrogant. So,
it comes...
I guess there's a level of, words and terminology. I always go back to this, and I am strong about words and terminology, but on the hypocritical, the ironic side of it, it goes in towards the intention of what we're trying to do. So if people stick on those individual words about what people are saying, rather than the actual intention, it's like saying with Scott Morrison, I'm not getting too political, but his intention might be for everyone to keep safe and keep well, social distance and so forth. And, he might slip up on a word or two here or there, and people go and hammer him about that word or two, but his intention is about keeping everyone safe.
I think the other thing too is, if I could take it to the other extreme, you've got the likes of Tony Robbins, who is arguably the world's greatest coach, talks about take massive action. Right now, I see a whole lot of clients who cringe at that and can't get past that because they're not in the mind space to take massive action. Right, it's one of the big things that he talks about, and so that's where, having noticed that with different people, I've started to change my language around that, because ultimately, look, at the end of the day, it's all about just starting, right? And there's so many sayings around this. There's the, journey of 1,000 miles that begins with one step. There's, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. It's all this, it's just about starting. So wherever you are, right, it's just about getting up off the couch. If it's something to do with health, if it's in regards to, business, small business, career, it's just about getting started.
Well, I think Mick's having a bit of a go at us. He's just stirring the pot a little bit.
Stirring us up, winding us up on a Sunday morning. Thank you, Mick.
He's having a go. He's having a go at this early. Maybe he's still in bed over there in New Zealand or something, tucked up under the covers or something like that.
No, it'll be lunchtime in New Zealand because that's 2 hours ahead of us.
Like, he works hard during the day, a little bit of renovations. He's still building up there down in New Zealand.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I think he might be building the Great Wall of China or something there. So might stir him up a little bit because he's still on project number 1, I believe. So Dave Sienna's also come on. Ryan Hayes, Also, Gabby as well. Big shout out to Gabby. She actually did a sale of her property yesterday, renovations that she did, and then she's moving on to the next project. So again, taking those steps, making that massive challenge happen. And I've been speaking to Gabby about different things that she's working on, which is great. Peter, good to see you on. Peter Trong's also come on. Let's get into the topic of today. Again, we take 11 minutes to get things started, which is fantastic. I've been pretty good in the last couple of weeks, but today a little bit astray. But Andrew, Henry,
that's okay. It's been good conversation.
The whole thing and idea that we want to talk about today, Tony, is what does it take to move on to the next chapter in your life? We talked a little bit about Kamal, maybe the next chapter in his life, health-wise, and it might be health, it might be business, it might be career, it might be a lifestyle choice, a location that you're moving into, a different way of life. So all these things can come up in a general sense. Tony, what do you think it is? The barriers that come up, and I've had some, big
gotcha.
with clients, potential clients in the last couple of weeks, and this is why I bring up this particular topic, because they're actually fearful about the whole thing, about that challenge or that move or that change. But what I will say is I've related it back to a situation where they have succeeded. And one particular example is of someone that I spoke to yesterday, changed careers and had a 1 month period where they didn't have a job, but they were successful. But is it a case that people are thinking instant about they need to have that change and that need to have it happen and be successful straight away? But perhaps it were successful.
Perhaps. And so in that example, that seems like it was a must situation. That is, I've got no job. I must find something. I must make this happen. And they've gone and done it. I just want to backtrack a little bit. One of the biggest issues, Luke, and I know we're going to get on to fear, but one of the biggest issues is that people aren't clear on what the next chapter is. Right? So even before you worry about the fear.
So she quit a job. Go back to that example. She quit a job. She didn't know what the next step was. Right?
Okay. So
that space of, okay, I'm in the land of unknown and uncertainty. And all my body and all my mind and all my heart, or maybe it's more the mind than anything else, is I need certainty, right? So maybe it's some underlying issues there that need to be worked on. But during that time, there was, that fear and uncertainty that, comes up within her. But then she was able to fix it within a month.
Yeah, because she had to get a job. Right, so she was back. Sounds like she was backed into she must get a job. But one of the reasons that I see that people aren't able to move on to the next chapter, Luke, is they're not even clear what the next chapter is. That's the point that I'm making. Is that that person there you're talking about, she needed to get a job. I don't know if she had any job that she was after, or she had a particular job, right? But it's just she needed to get a job. Whereas a lot of people aren't really clear on it, and so when you're not clear on what you want, then you've got nothing to move towards. That's the first thing I'll say. The second is that you're right. There's this massive uncertainty piece, because when you change, there's an uncertainty of, well, what if I go down this path and I don't quite make it? So, okay, I get clear. That is, I want to start my own business. But what if my business fails? What if I'm not successful? And so for me, it comes down to 3 words. Thoughts become things, and we've talked about some thoughts and some words already and a play on words being small, etc. But thoughts become things. And that is that when you sit there and you think about, what if I fail? What if I fail? What if I fail? Then you're going to fail. And I talk here often around my own failings, going back 2004 and 5, when I talked myself out of, a success with my ice cream cafe, way back when, because I kept saying to myself, if this fails, I'll get another job. If it fails, I'll get another job. And I kept saying it to every single person. And I didn't realize at the time, but I realize it now, that what I was doing is actually self-sabotage myself. And so you need to not think about what if it fails. Change the question, right? You want to get a better answer? Ask a better question. How do I make sure this is successful? What have I got to do to make sure it's successful? Who has done what I'm trying to achieve? I'll guarantee you, no matter who you are, no matter what you're trying to do, I'll bet someone's gone before you. I'll bet there's a blueprint that's been laid down. Google the damn thing up, right? Find out who it is. You might not have to Google it. It might be within your circle of contacts, of network, etc. Who's done what you're trying to do? Reach out to those people. What were the trials? What were the tribulations? Right? This is how you start to move your way forward. But you're right, when you talk about the whole, we've got to overcome the fear, because it's this fear, it's this uncertainty, right? And Napoleon Hill talks about 3 feet from gold. So Napoleon Hill, the great author of Think and Grow Rich, he has a concept which is called 3 feet from gold. And so for those who've read his book, they'll understand this concept. But what it means is that the book was written back in 1937, so almost 90 years ago. Someone's digging, they're a miner, right? And they're digging and they're digging, they're digging for their own gold. And they get to 3 feet. Now, they don't realize that they're 3 feet away, right? And all of a sudden, but they've dug for ages and they go, oh, there's no gold. I give up and I'm moving on. Now, if they knew that the gold was 3 feet away, they'd keep digging, right? Because that's called certainty. That is, if I'm certain that something's 3 feet away, I'm just going to dig 3 feet. But I don't know. See, the reality is we don't know how far away success is, whether it be success in weight loss, success in business, success in our career. We don't know how far away it is. And so there's a belief thing, there's a faith piece here that you've just got to keep going. When I know I'm doing the right thing, providing I'm consistent and persistent, then I will be successful.
Nakia, Ty, Nikki, Mahmood have all come on. Christine says, fear is often the biggest hurdle to jump over. Yes, Willie's also come on as well. She also says, Christine, that positive thoughts and affirmations, write them down and stick to them everywhere. I'm sure Tony has a few thoughts around that, but we will get to them in a little bit. Nikki says, I agree with Christine. So the girls are supporting each other. And also about patience has been mentioned as well. Kat says, what a topic so relevant to right now. Look at the gaps in employment. Well, you know, Tony, we always bring about the relevant topics, right?
We're relevant, Kat. Kat, I can't believe that you're saying that. We're relevant, Kat. We do our research. There's so much research that goes into this program each and every Sunday.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I do laugh about that, and it probably comes on a whim a little bit, but it is about the constant things that are happening in our conversations each and every week, because they are relevant to the conversations that we're having with people throughout the week, throughout our business, our life, and our careers. So they're relevant.
And that's it.
2 or 3 people, then obviously they're super relevant.
That's it. Luke's having a chat to heaps of people. I'm having a chat to heaps of people. We're both going, you know what, this is what seems to be coming up. And we have a chat about it. So there's no surprise that we're relevant. Back on the research side, the chats is about the extent of the research. That's it. There's no other planning that goes into this. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble.
It is all, we're probably constantly researching in fairness to us, Tony. Because
we do it as a job, right? That's the thing, I suppose.
I guess like that. But we're listening to what's happening on social media, and that's obviously very relevant. What the greats of today that are talking about on social, what's happening in the media as well, what people are influenced by, what is common to what's going on. So great that you support us on that one. So really special. Alison, good to have you on. Alison is one, she's over in the UK. She has really stepped it up during COVID.
Right.
So they're making a tougher lockdown than us. She's really putting herself out there. So big shout out to Alison. I used to work with her on cruise ships many years ago. So she's a class 1A dive instructor. She's superb, and she taught me, and I'm actually an advanced.
What? Sorry, I missed that, mate. Sorry, what was that last?
Yeah, I'm an advanced diver because of Alison.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah,
I didn't know that about you, mate. You're an advanced diver.
I'm an advanced diver.
How often do you get out there and dive?
I haven't for a while, since my cruise ship days.
Okay, so perhaps you're not as advanced anymore.
No, I can obviously you can do a course that's relevant to that. Anyway, back to what Kat was talking about. She says, look at the gaps in employment as a positive. Everything happens for a reason. To open up opportunity, really important. I'm about to get moving for today, to finish packing, to move tomorrow for a seasonal work. Already been over 6 months since our live with Tony in North Queensland before I started the job I just finished. So I know Kat was talking about doing another Facebook Live around that as well. So it should be really interesting. Mick says, uncertainty saddled with fear needs a strategy to navigate the mind forward to the vision or thing. Interesting.
Well, but he goes. That's the point. The vision, right? That's the whole point there. It's the what's in front of you, right? What's the thing that if you've got nothing that's in front of you, then you're not. If you aim at nothing, you're going to get nothing. In fact, I think I did a post on this. And when I say I think I did a post, I have a team of people who do my social media, so I happened to see it this morning over my coffee. But
I'll give you the example that you always use, Tony. So I don't know if you're thinking of this example. You always talk about the GPS, right? So
yes.
You basically, do you actually go, I'm going to Sydney, or do you say I'm going to 239 Pitt Street, Sydney? So I'll give you the quick example of that because I want to move on. Kat says
that is shut up, Tony. Let's get on with the program.
He loves it. Kat says relevant
too funny.
Of what I wrote after that. And Kat's been doing some extraordinary work, and I like to pinpoint some of the people that have come on today because she was fighting the bushfires around Australia earlier on in the year. So doing some amazing work there, our firefighters, and Kat being one of them. So really good work. Giovanni and Joe have come on. Nikki says, do you think we should always dream big? Good question. I'll get you to answer that in a moment, Tony. Lou's come on as well. Kristen says, I believe, Nikki, that dreams are important. So that's Christine's answered that one. Tony, before I'll get you to answer that question.
Yep.
And then I've got something to say about the whole thing about my ideas as well.
Okay. Well, let me say, if you're going to dream, why not dream big? If you're going to spend time dreaming, why not dream big? You know, why not dream of something?
Why dream big?
Sorry?
Why dream big?
Have something to aspire towards. Do we want to look? If you want to play small, then that's fine. I don't want to play small.
Small's the word of the day, I think.
Oh well, if you want to play little, then then just to mix it up. But if you want to dream, if you're going to spend time on a dream, why not dream big? Now the thing is that there's a difference between the dream and the goal, right? So sometimes the dreams are these, you want to be some, I don't know, famous Hollywood actor, but you've actually got to go and put action plans in place. But it's about, turning that dream into reality. If it's important to you, and that comes back to the commitment, the connectedness around the goal. Because at the 1st of January each and every year, so many people have so many wonderful dreams and goals, and by the 15th of January every year, they've fallen short on almost all of them, right? Because they're not that connected to it. So have your dreams, dream big. If you're going to dream, may as well dream big, because no one else is going to dream for you also. But then you've got to translate that dream into a goal, into an action plan, and then you actually putting your left foot in front of your right.
It's good to see some of our viewers are actually corresponding with each other, which is really good. Kristen says, I believe, Nikki, that dreams are important. Big dreams, yes. And then Mick says, dream happiness. Really interesting on that one. But I do want to get back to the whole thing about moving into the next chapter of your life. Yeah. And you brought up some interesting topics earlier around that. I also think about that whole gap, where the gap is in terms of that example I used, where someone left their job, didn't know what they were going to do, fear and uncertainty around it. Then they found a job and another process or start in their life in a different tangent. I had a very similar circumstance where I left the travel industry. I was doing little bits and pieces in between. Then I got to a point where I had a couple of weeks where I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And I just remember, but this is before I was doing any personal development or anything. So I just kept asking myself, what do I want? What do I like? What do I enjoy?
That's
it. It started to be like a little bit of a process of elimination in my mind, but it was very basic stuff because I didn't really know about vision boards and doing anything like that. It was like, what do I really like? It kept going back to real estate, but I knew it was like, I don't really want to be a sales agent. It doesn't fit with me. And Saturday work wasn't something that I was aspiring to do on an ongoing basis. And then I kind of stumbled on looking through the paper, seeing a role, one little lad, like a tiny little lad that had about strata management. And I'm like, what is a strata manager? What's a body corporate manager? No idea. Made some inquiries, pushed forward with it, was persistent in the endeavor of trying to get a job around that or finding out a little bit more. And then within that time, I actually dropped my wage from, I think at the time, it was back in, about 2007, 8. I had a wage of about $75,000. And I came back all the way down to about $33,000. I was on the award wage for my particular role during that time. So a massive drop. But then the 18 months past that, then I escalated my wage way above that. So, you know, sometimes it was a couple of things, you know, 3 steps backwards to go 5 steps forward. So that's my example of trusting the process, allowing the process, and, you know, not, I guess sometimes, yes, you can look into what's going on with yourself, but also at the same time, trusting that process of what's happening as well, Tony.
Well, the first thing is, Luke, if I just pull apart your example, you spent time on sitting with yourself and trying to figure out what is it that I want, right? And that's what I touched on earlier today. Now, there's a whole range of, you know, processes, like you just happened to do it a little bit. It seems like you just sort of started it yourself. There's actually processes now that you can do. And the one that I talk about often is Ikigai, which is Ikigai, which is Japanese for reason for being. Right, and you've got 4 intersecting circles. What is it that I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? And what can I get paid for? So Google it up, Ikigai. There's a process that you go through and you sit with it, right? And so in your example, you came up with, okay, I wanted to get into real estate, but real estate is about that wide. Okay, so then you narrowed it down. You did some investigation. You didn't know what strata management was all about, but you saw something, and then your curious mind kicked in. And it's like, oh, what's that all about, right? And so firstly, you allowed yourself the time. Secondly, you got really curious and explored. You had a sense that, yeah, something around property, around real estate, but you just went down different rabbit holes and you figured it out. See, what we don't do, Luke, is firstly, we don't spend enough time on thinking about these sorts of things. The other stuff in regards to the money, well, it was touched on earlier, where it's about happiness, right? So the whole idea of this is that when you are happy with what you're doing, doesn't matter what you start on, right? You had, you know, your salary dropped down to minimum wage or whatever. But when you're happy, what happens? You're more productive. And when you're more productive, you get more successful.
That I did say about the money there, even for me, right? I did focus on that money aspect. But
right.
I remember going through that process about the money thing, and I you know, I always say it's never about the money. Maybe I'm relating it more to the audience that are sitting out here today, because we tend to focus on the money aspect, or not having enough money to pay the bills, or whatever it might be. And I sat with that a little bit, and I didn't really challenge it from my bosses to say I'm on the world wage, but I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to work hard at this, and I'm going to make myself in a position to increase my wage in the next 6 months, 12 months from here. And it's exactly what I did. And then do the hard parts early. I didn't have the experience. So for them, taking me on was a massive leap of faith for them. But at the same time, you know, I need to know I don't have the experience, so I can't, you know, demand a higher wage either. So
did you have enough money to get by?
Sorry?
Back then, did you have enough money to get by?
Yeah, I did.
Right. And so that's the key, right? And so that's a little bit of a, it could be a pride swallowing exercise. That's a little bit of going, you know what? I've got enough base here to keep me going each and every week, but I can see, you would have seen there's the potential. So if you had have seen there's zero potential to lift off 33K, then I dare say you would not have progressed down that path. Maybe you would have, but you would have seen there's the potential. So I think this is what I want to do. B, I love property. C, I can see potential for growth, and the rest sits on my shoulders. So the rest is, well, I need to work hard, and I need to demonstrate, and I need to repay the faith in those people who gave me a chance. And I know that when I'm successful, then I will be rewarded. But along the way, and Mick touched on it earlier, I'm going to be really happy because I'm doing something that's going to fill me up, right? Yeah. And so there's a number of little elements in there, and that's why you went on and were successful in that role. And then obviously, you know, built into your own property business today.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point there, Tony. And
it happens. It happens on occasion.
Yeah, just on occasions. But I actually moved out of the travel industry because I thought it was an industry that was really pulling back. And I guess that's pretty evident right now, which is unfortunate for the travel industry. Because it's pretty close to my heart and whatever. And my years, many years, and I was probably spent 10 years working in the travel industry in various different roles. But it was like more things were going online. So I saw a movement out of the travel industry, and with strata management, they keep building all these new strata buildings all the time. So I could see the growth in that. And I know if I worked hard enough, I would increase my wage over time and learn and experience something.
Well, that was also about having some awareness of what's going on, right? And so a lot of people are, you know, like it's well publicized over the years, the types of jobs that are about to go, right? With all the technologies that's coming on, the types of jobs. The problem is that a lot of people put their head in the sand and don't want to listen to that. right? They don't do anything about it. Whereas those that are a bit like yourself, Luke, who are very proactive, who are thinking forward thinking, they'll go, okay, well then what's a direction that I can pivot? What skills do I need to go and get? Do I need to go back to uni or TAFE or do a little course or whatever it might be? Because we can all see the types of jobs that have changed as more and more technology comes to the fore. And it's been happening for a long time. But as I said, a lot of people will wait until they lose their job and they'll go, oh no, I've got a problem. Whereas you being more forward thinking, that's what we want our audience here on a Sunday to be. We want you to be proactive and we want you to do things well and truly in advance of when like you said back then, you could see things shifting in the travel industry for online and you didn't see much of a future for yourself. But then also it looks like you chased something that was going to fill you up even more than the travel industry. And again, here you are today.
Absolutely. Nikki says, fear comes from the unknown. Break it down and focus on one step at a time. Absolutely, I agree with that. I'm sure you will too, Tony. She also says, yes, I do, to Christine, although I don't think it has to be big. It has to be to what you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be. So again, but I suppose the key here, right? The one thing is, there's so many people that will have dreams and do nothing about it. So you know what? It doesn't really matter what size the dream is. Like I know that I said dream big, and that's just my own thing. If you're going to spend time on it, may as well think big. But the difference is, have a dream, but now what are you going to do about it? Right? That's ultimately the key. It's about taking the action steps, because the majority of people will end up finishing their life with a mind full of dreams that they never had the courage to act on.
Mick says, money can be likened to the scoreboard of your happiness. Money chases happiness. Happiness doesn't chase the money.
Yep, got it. I love it. I love it. And so many people, Mick, as you well know.
This guy is super deep, eh?
Yeah, which is fantastic, right?
But
and so many people.
At the same time, he's very loose.
Well, so I don't know, mate. I only see videos of you blokes when you're in New York together at the various property conferences. But he's exactly right. It's about do what makes you happy, right? The ultimate objective, I believe, the ultimate objective of life is about seeking happiness. That's it, right? To me, it boils down to those two words. And so whatever happiness is for you. Now, some people are incredibly happy working a 9-to-5 job and having time to be soccer coaches and, working in canteens and whatnot with their kids. And that's awesome, right? There are other people who are chasing other things. It doesn't really matter. Seek your own happiness. But when you do what makes you happy, then the monetary rewards will follow, because you're happy, because you're in flow. And I don't think we use the word flow a lot here, but when you're in flow, life just seems so easy. It's like just the water flowing. And so when you're in flow, doing the thing that you bound out of bed, like so many people sit here and go, oh, I slept in, I'm tired, I don't really want to do that. Well, guess what? That's your body saying to you that, is this really the thing that you want to do? Are you connected to this thing? Because you're putting sleep and tiredness and avoidance, I'm procrastinating, I'm watching TV or whatever it is, over this thing. So it's like, I should be doing this. Society tells me I should be doing this, but I don't really want to do it. Well, my advice is figure out what's going to make you happy and follow that. And Mick's right, the money will flow. Just
on the practical side of things, people thinking about the next chapter in their life, I come up with the first point we've got 34 minutes, and first point where are we going, Tony?
It's good. Good conversation, Luke.
Absolutely. So, and you know what we want? What I love more than anything else, and maybe we get some feedback on this, is telling some of the stories. So, we dived a little bit into what Nikki was talking about, what Christine was talking about, some of Mick's deep ideas and loose nature, and some of your stories, Tony, client stories, and my stories as well. So hopefully some of the stories can actually impact the viewers about making a lot towards what goes on with them. And Julie, good to have you on as well. Practical side of things, awareness of where you are at right now and what is changing around you. When we touched on those with a couple of those stories, right? Awareness where you're at in terms of my example, Tony, of when being in the travel industry, seeing that the environment around me was starting to see middle managers and supervisors started to be, move away from that industry, being made redundant and things like that, starting to see more things go online in the travel industry, then thinking, okay, what do I really love? And then thinking about, like you said about the Ikigai example, what does the world need? What do I love?
What am I good at? So what am I good at? What do I love? What does the world need? And what can I get paid for? And I'll post that up in the show notes, by the way.
Yeah,
so
because I've heard it so many times, and I get the general sense of it. I just don't know the practical side.
That's okay. But you're exactly right, and it's about going through a process. But here's the thing: you've got to sit with yourself and your own thoughts, and like you said, to get self-aware, right? To get self-aware.
Well, what's the other point? If you can't get self-aware, what else can you do?
If you can't get self-aware, well, you want to put things in place to get self-aware. For example, we do 2 questions at the end of every day. What are those 2 questions, Luke?
What did I do well, and what can I improve on?
You got it, right? So these are not virtual high five, right? So these are not overly complex things that you need to do, Luke. Like I'm giving people.
I was actually trying to set you up for a bit of a plug for your business, but you didn't actually get it. So
well, look, I'm more than happy to plug my business, right? But I'm also conscious that, and that's what I do, right? That's my business. I'm a business coach. That's what I do. In case you're wondering, as opposed to some random who talks on a Sunday. But I'm here to serve people. But look, if people want to reach out to me, please feel free. But my point is that you don't need to have a coach, right? To ask yourself those 2 questions. What did I do well today, and what can I do differently, right? And you ask those on a regular basis, and you start to form a bit of a picture, a bit of an idea as to what you're doing. What are you good at, right? And I always start with, what did I do well? Why? Because if I said to you, how was today? How did you go? Well, what we tend to do is we tend to default to the negative. We have a negative bias, right? And so it'll be all the tale of woe. This went wrong, that went wrong, missed opportunity, what, right? As opposed to going, what went well? So you're absolutely focusing on what's gone well, and then there's the gratitude element that comes into that, right? And one of my morning routines is around gratitude, and it's about priming yourself to think about the wonderful things that you have in your life, because again, thoughts become things. So when I'm not grateful, right? So what happens is people have a goal for themselves, and they'll whinge and whine, and they'll say, oh, I should be down there, but I'm not, and I'm frustrated, I'm angry. Well, thoughts become things. When you get frustrated and angry, that's what you bring into your world. But when you say, yeah, I've got a goal for myself, but gee whiz, I'm really happy with the things that I've got now, and I know that I'm progressing nicely towards where I'm going, then thoughts become things. I'm very happy, and I'm then a good person, right? I get out there, I'm kind to others, so on and so forth. Sorry, I'm just having my AirPods are playing up. Yep.
No, all good. The second point we want to talk about is realizing that you've probably been successful with changes in the past. And I highlighted that in one of the stories that I spoke about with a potential client yesterday, where they have worked on something where they've changed, and they've created a new life for themselves on the back of just making some moves, having some awareness, trying and testing things, allowing for the process, maybe looking in towards themselves. They probably didn't even realize at the time, but they were, questioning themselves about what was going on, and they actually made that move. And they did accomplish something. They did accomplish getting into a job or change of career.
Yep.
And it was actually really interesting, because this person is just so hard on themselves, super hard on themselves.
Yep.
It's like, why give yourself a go? Why are you judging yourself so much? Yep. So critical. And look, I know that's probably some deep-seated issues around that, but wow.
We've all like that. Oh, again, thoughts become things, right? I'll say this until I've got no breath left, right? 3 key words: thoughts become things. If you're going to sit there and judge yourself, that's what you're putting out. That's what you're going to put out to the world. So I want to go back to. I've just had a mind blank there for a moment.
No, it was around realizing the problem.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So in regards to So in regards to overcoming fear, right? So there's a number of ways that you overcome fear. So one is to create empowering beliefs. Another is to start as if, that is acting and taking action as if. But the last one is create evidence of success. Now, there's 2 key ways that you create evidence of success. One is, and I'm going to get to your point last. The first is that you break things down and you just get started, right? You start things down. So one of the comments before was break things down and just get started. That's one way to create evidence of success. The other is that you have success with something else and you understand what was it that I did at that point in time, and how can I apply that same level of thinking, that same level of determination, that same level of persistence, perseverance to what I'm trying to do now. Everybody has had to do something for the first time in their life, right? You've all had to do a first. It might be the first time you ran 7K. Before you ran 7K, you may have lacked the belief that you could run 7K. You had to do that as a first once, right? We've all had to do something for a first. And so it's about taking that moment.
What about the marathon? Bloody
Well, the
hell.
marathon, right? Well, there you go, right? So you'd never run a marathon before, but you got into the marathon because you did your training, right? And you created the belief. So you had some evidence of success that is doing some smaller things, right? And you also had a vision. I want to use so in the spirit of stories, I want to take you through a little bit of my story. So my story is that 5 years ago, when I was down and out, I was overweight in a dark space, and I lost an enormous amount of weight in 12 weeks. And I had no ice cream for 12 weeks. So that's the only time in my life that I think I haven't had ice cream. And I lost a phenomenal amount of weight. Then what I did with that is I then went and started a property development business. Now, losing weight and property development have zero in common, right? Absolutely nothing in common. But the key is that I said, if I can achieve this thing over here, that is lose 12 kilos in 12 weeks, if I can achieve that and go through the rigors of that, then I can achieve this, and that is property development, and on I've gone. So the point is that I've created evidence of success over here in a non-related thing and transfer that same level of thinking, that same mindset in over here. So for each and every one that's watching, what have you done in your life where you created success, where you did something for the first time, where you did something where you didn't think you could do it, but you did it anyway? What did you do at that time? Why did you do it? What was some of the factors around that? And now you want to pick that up, the mindset that was associated with that, and apply that to your new thing. Well, that's another way you can create evidence of success.
Well, I guess, do you ask the question, are you focusing on your successes or your failures?
Again, thoughts become things, right? You want to focus on all your. Now there's nothing wrong with having a look at failure from a learning point of view, right? So I say to only look back for 3 reasons, and one of those reasons is to look at the failure and take the lesson. And that's one of the beautiful things about being human, is that we take the lesson and we have a choice, right? We can learn from that, or if we go and do the same thing again, well, clearly that's an issue. But there's nothing wrong with looking back, but there's an issue when you look back and you stare and you constantly fixate on that loss and you dwell on that loss and you dwell on that failing. That's different, right? That's different. That's taking all your thoughts back into the past, and that's not serving anyone, right? And so it's look back, get the lesson, now pivot in a forward direction, take the lesson and keep moving in a forward direction, and change what you can change, because you can't change that thing that you did. I made so many mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. Every day I'm making mistakes, some big, some small, some massive, right? I've made an enormous number of mistakes. We haven't got long enough for me to go through them all, but the point is that I take the lesson. I take the lesson, right? And that's the key. And I'm sure you're the same, mate. It's like you take the lesson. You might, let's use your running. You might do a run and you might have a slow run. You think about, why was that a bit slow? What could I do to pick it up? What could I, at what point? There's so much data available now from a health point of view that it tracks your kilometers and your 500 meters and what was going on at that stage, right? I'm doing that with the spirit of relentless improvement. Well, the same applies in business, the same applies in your career, the same applies in relationships.
Incessant persistence. That's what it's all about for me. Number 3 is put in the hard work, mindset work, and have the courage to believe in the process. Believe in the process. Hard work.
That's the word.
Mindset work, belief. What do you reckon?
Well, I reckon belief is the word there. Belief. You have to believe you can do it. If you don't believe you can do it, I'm not talking at a conscious level. I'm talking the subconscious level. If you subconsciously don't believe that you can do it, it's never going to happen. I'm sorry to break that to you here this morning, but it will never, ever, ever happen. And so you need to believe with every inch of your being that you can make this happen.
I will tell you a little bit of a story. My 8-year-old nephew I saw yesterday, he is going to run a 2-kilometer run, cross country or whatever it is. Yep. And he started out saying that there's someone better than him. Mm-hmm. I go, well, you're not going to win if you believe that you're going to come second. Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you need to do? Okay, so I told him do 50 push-ups a day. He's 8 years old. And then I go, but you don't have to do them all at the one time. And then I go, you got to go down the park and run a kilometre every day.
Yep. I love it.
If you want me to coach you, I think you win.
Yep.
At that level, because I know the kid at 8 years old, the other kid's probably not going to be training or whatever. So he just didn't have the belief.
But we take that 8-year-old, our 8-year-old self, right? We take that right throughout our life. And that's where the habits are formed, right? Because a lot of habits are formed when we're young, when we're in our adolescence and so on. We form habits when we're older as well. But I suppose the point is
he's got to be listening to Uncle Luke. That's the whole thing about it.
That's the point to the right there, right? So he's mad if he doesn't. But it does come down to belief. If you don't believe that you can change your career, if you don't believe that you can start a business, if you don't believe that you can lose weight, if you don't believe that you can have a healthy, happy relationship, then it's never going to happen, right? So you need to get into the belief. So how do you get belief, right? And there's a quadrant which Tony Robbins takes people through to do this, right? So there's potential, action, results, and belief. So the question that he asks people is, do we believe that humans have unlimited potential? And the answer is yes, humans have unlimited potential. So then he goes down to the results side and he says, well, are our results reflective of our unlimited potential? And the answer is no, because we have unlimited potential, but as humans generally, we're not tapping into the potential that we have. Is it because of the actions that we're taking? Well, not necessarily, because we could be taking an enormous amount of action, but it could be the wrong action, right? So it could be pointed in the wrong direction. So the reason that we don't succeed comes down to its belief / certainty. That's what it is. When you're certain, so I go back to the point I made earlier about the 3 feet from gold. If you were certain that 3 feet away from you was a massive pile of gold, would you walk away from it? No way in the world. You would dig, you would do whatever you could, right? You'd hire an excavator, whatever it is, to dig the 3 feet. The issue is we don't know that we're only 3 feet away. And most people will finish their life being 3 feet away. Most people will almost get there and give up because they lose belief, faith, and they lose trust in the process, which was initially your point, right? It's about trusting that when I do these things, when I do them consistently and persistently, an acronym that I've created recently is called CAPE, C-A-P-E, which is consistent and persistent effort, right? And so when you do things consistently and persistently, you're doing the right things, you will be successful. When your nephew runs a kilometre every day and does 50 push-ups, he will be successful. There is a formula to winning a race. It's about following that formula.
I think about the words incessant. I think about the word relentless. Mick speaks about forming good habits is key, which is great as well. So, you know, we've talked about a lot of things today in terms of what does it take to move to the next chapter in your life, the awareness around where you're at right now and changing, what is changing around you and focusing on where you need to be. And then secondly, about realizing that you have probably had success in this, changing things in the past. So that's an important part of realizing that if you have succeeded, focus on that rather than focus on and dwelling, like Tony said earlier, about the mistakes you've made or other things that have happened, and learn from those lessons rather than dwell on those mistakes. And then the third point was around put in the hard work, the mindset work, and then have the courage to believe in the process. Tony, any final thoughts on today's Sunday mindset session? Greg reckons, and this is an interesting one because I actually spoke to my sister about this yesterday. Before you give your final thoughts, Greg says, does it take 66 days to form a new habit? Now, my sister did a podcast with, and you're probably familiar with my sister Celeste. Did a podcast with this spiritual guy. And asked him, how long does it take to form a habit? He said 3 lifetimes. Interesting. I'll leave that with you, Tony. That'll be an interesting one to think about, and I'm just like, that's kind of interesting. And you sit back on that for a little bit. Who's actually right and wrong? Right.
Sure. So where I'm getting
actually, just to think about my running, for example, right? if I struggle to get up each and every day to do my run, has I really formed a really good habit?
No, it shows that you're human. No.
Like, you know, I'm getting very deep into this. I think, you know what? I think it's actually better if we sit on it for a while and consider it and ponder with it for the moment, and don't come up with a
next week. Next week's topic. Hey, how's that?
Well, it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep for this.
That's okay. So what I would say to people is there is a so where do I get the 66 days from? Well, in 2009 there was a social psychology study done, and what they identified during that study is that the average, right? So the average to form a habit was 66 days. So there's some people who could form certain habits in 30 days, 40 days, others who are doing it in 100 days, right? The average was 66. Now, when you talk about 3 lifetimes, right, you're talking about a good habit, right? A good habit in your running. But habits are also bad. It doesn't take 3 lifetimes to form bad habits. We've got heaps of them, right? We've formed heaps of them, right? So let's talk about habits generally. It takes you roughly, on average, a couple of months, according to the study, and certainly through my own experiences. I would say that feels about right? The thing is with people, right, is that a lot of people don't get to the 66 days, and I use the 1st of January example. They get to the 15th of January, and it's all too hard, right? And I wish they could make it through to the end of February, right? Because then when you make it through to the end of February, gee whiz, you're giving yourself a really great chance of success. You've gone and set a goal with Kamal, which is a 60-day challenge. I'd like to think that at the end of that, geez, he's created a good habit. Doesn't mean, just because it's a good habit, doesn't mean that each and every day you're going to wake up, bound out of bed and feel like doing it, right? Remembering that our mind's role, let's not lose sight of this. Our mind's role is to keep us safe. So when it's cold outside, then
Sorry, I can't help it. Greg just sent a message through. He goes, "How long did it take Tony to form the ice cream habit?"
You know what?
3 lifetimes, Greg. 3 lifetimes.
No, it happened when I was young.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick also said, "I'm in for next week. Love the deep habit thought. Good topic." Tony, what about a wrap up of today? We did sidetrack a little bit about habits. It's Greg's fault, but what about the idea? Final thoughts for today's session about the next chapter in your life.
Get clear on it. First thing, get clear on what that thing is. Take the time. You took the time when you were transitioning out of the cruise ships. Take the time, get clear on what that thing is. I'll post up the Ikigai stuff. When you get clear on what you want, at least you've got something to aim at. The second piece is get clear on where you are today. What are you good at? What am I weak at? Right? And so now what I've done is I've effectively created a gap, right? So I've got where I want to be, I've got where I am today, and in the middle is a gap. Now, if you use GAP as an acronym, then what that turns into for me is a goal achievement program. So now it's about joining the dots between the two. That's now the what I need to do. Then it's about having the belief. And like we said, belief, you talked about create evidence of success. 2 things, either A, break things down really, really small and start to build the momentum, or B, think about some other success that you've had in your life, and you've all had to do something once, multiple times, different things. What were you thinking? What were you doing? What prompted you, or what was it that got you over the line at that point? Take that mindset, that focus, and apply that to the new thing. You can do it. You can do it because you've done it before.
Well, you basically wrapped up the whole session
That's what you asked me to do.
I thought you were going to go in another 30 minutes. So final words, but it went for another 5. A couple of Adams have just come on. So if you've missed the first 50 minutes, you probably got the whole session in the last little bit from Tony Meredith now, which is always good. You know, I laugh and joke around with these. He loves it as well. He's always got a thought to say about everything.
Yeah, always got
words doesn't normally mean like another 5-minute rant. But anyway, that aside, it's been a really good session again, Tony. We've loved it. I've loved it. And it's good to tell about the stories of others and ourselves to help other people think about some of these things in their life, and might actually just dive them into, okay, this is what Luke and Tony are saying about their lives, other people's lives. What's actually happened with my life?
That's it. That's it.
And hopefully you guys ask that simple question to yourselves. What's happening in my life?
That's it. There's 2 questions every day. What am I doing well? What can I improve on? Ask them just every single day. You don't need a coach. You don't need an accountability buddy. You don't need anything else. Ask those 2 questions every day, and you will start to see massive shifts in your life, because you'll start to create awareness, and then you have the choice as to what you want to do. I'll shut up now, mate. I can keep going on for days.
Yes, we know. And, same with me. So I just try and bring it in a little bit.
Good on you. That's why you're here, mate. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for sticking with us through this session, and all the different people that have come on. So it's been a really good one. Tony, have a great Sunday. Everyone have a great Sunday. And over and out for now, and love your work, everyone. I'm just trying to work out how I shut all this down now. I'm trying to remember.
Hey, birthday celebrations next week. The big 1-year birthday.
Actually. It's 1 year of Sunday Mindset Sessions. It's week 52. We'll be back next Sunday with a great topic. I don't know what it is. Obviously, Tony will be doing some research around it to come up with a great topic.
So much research.
Bye.